In this video, I'll demonstrate how to use NMAP to discover machines. So we're going to use NMAP to perform network footprinting and port scanning. And in addition to network discovery and host scanning, we're also going to learn about some additional NMAP techniques that are useful for beginners. So here I am in my AWS console, and we're just going to create a sample virtual machine. So under EC2, I'm going to go to Instances, and I'm going to make sure that I'm in the Ohio region that I've been using for everything so far. And I'm going to launch a new instance. And I'm just going to call this instance Normal Server. And for the operating system, we're going to choose a Windows operating system. I'm going to choose Windows 2016 Base as my OS that this virtual machine is going to get. And for the instance type, I'm going to go with the T2 Micro because it's eligible for the free tier. For the key pair, I'm going to use the Hacking with Rick key pair that I've already been using throughout this course. And for network settings, we're going to make sure that we choose our Cloud Hacking Lab VPC. We're going to make sure that we choose the same subnet that we created the Kali Linux virtual machine within. And we're going to give it a public IP address. And for the security group, we're going to select the Allow All security group that we've already created. And that's really all we need. I'm going to go to Launch Instance, and I'm going to create this new EC2 instance. And I'm just going to click on my instance ID, and I'm going to select my new server that I've created. And I'm just going to copy the private IP address of this EC2 instance because we're going to need that in a moment. And so now I'll wait for this status check to complete, and you can hit the little refresh button up here to check on the state of the status check. And once that status check is complete, we are going to switch over to our Kali Linux machine using remote desktop. And we're going to launch the terminal. And we're just going to type in the command nmap. And so nmap is something that we can use to find hosts, to discover hosts across our local network. And so if I want to sweep a certain range of IP addresses, I can type in nmap and then space -sp. This is going to perform a ping sweep across all of the hosts in my local network. And so I'm just going to set the IP address range that my normal server virtual machine exists in. And my normal server virtual machine has an IP address of 10.0.6.160. So I'm going to make sure to do a ping sweep that includes that IP address range. And we'll hit enter here. And notice what it found. It found my normal server host. Here's the IP address of that host. And so now that I've identified an IP address, I'm going to type in the nmap command again. And I'm just going to type in the exact IP address of that normal server virtual machine. And this command is going to scan the most common 1,000 open ports. It's going to look for open ports on that virtual machine that we could potentially attack. This is part of the footprinting process where we are going to start looking for ports that are vulnerable, ports that we could potentially attack. Another useful command with nmap is the nmap-s capital S command and then -a. So SS stands for stealth scan, and this command will do operating system fingerprinting and version detection. So the idea here is that when I execute this scan on my normal server virtual machine, it should come back and tell me the operating system that that virtual machine is running and the version of that operating system. And so here we can see some of the important results. We can see the operating system was detected as Windows. I can also see all sorts of information about my target, including the DNS name, the DNS computer name, the SSL details, and the MAC address. So I'm learning about all sorts of good information about the target that I hope to attack. And so now let's assume that there are certain ports that I want to try to attack, like maybe port 22 or port 80 or port 443. And I know these are common ports that are often open, and I know how to exploit these certain ports if they are open. So I want to scan that target and see if any of these ports are actually open. And so here we can see the results of that port scan and what NMAP was able to identify. Now, another command, and just bear in mind, all of these commands that you're seeing here are available in the lab manual. So I'm going to issue another NMAP command to learn the specific version of services that are running on this server. So I'm going to type in nmap-sv with a capital V, and I'm going to put in the IP address of my target system. And here you can see the results. This is Microsoft Terminal Services. You can see exactly what it came up with here. Now, we can also do something called an aggressive scan mode. Now, just bear in mind, this is more resource intensive, and by doing an aggressive scan mode, we could potentially be more easily detected. So if we're trying to be stealthy about this is not the way to do it. This is a much more aggressive scan that is going to be more easily detected by the system that we're trying to footprint. And here we can see all of the information that the aggressive scan returned, including a trace route. We can see all of the network hops along the way. Now, this is a pretty locked down virtual machine. There's not a lot of ports open. There's not a lot of things to attack here. But I just wanted to show you how to use NMAP to carry out these basic tasks. Now, the final command that I want to execute here is one more NMAP command, nmap-A. I'm going to put in the target IP address, and I actually want to output the contents and the results to a text file. So I'm going to use the -on option, and I'm going to put in the name of a new text file here. And as you can see, it's shown me the results here on the screen, but it's also put the results into a text file. So if I just do an ls command here, you can see there's a new file called output.txt. And if I do cat output.txt, it'll show me all of the contents of that text file. So if I want to dump the results of an nmap command into a text file, that's the command you would use. So as you can see in this lesson, nmap is very useful if you're doing footprinting, if you're trying to determine what ports are open or what systems are out there. Now, the final thing that I want to do before I move on here is I want to go back to the AWS console, and I'm not going to be using this normal server virtual machine anymore. So I'm just going to go to instance state, and I'm going to terminate this instance. This is something you want to get in the habit of as you're using AWS. You don't want to leave machines running or leave machines in the AWS console that you don't intend on using anymore. So when you're done with something, make sure you terminate it. And if you've subscribed to a service, like for example, we're going to subscribe to WordPress in an upcoming video, you want to make sure that you cancel those subscriptions as well.